Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 234th meeting of the Program Management Committee of the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District, Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. Can I get a roll call?
Yep, we'll note that all trustees are present with trustees Nicholasison and Fair online.
Approval of the committee minutes of August 3rd, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
There are no comments by the chair. Rich, we have some engineering department items.
Yes, we do. Good morning, trustees. Got a fair amount of agenda items this morning, and then an extra presentation under other business. First item on the agenda today is the Louisa and Arsenal pump station upgrades. This action will appropriate additional funds to an ongoing construction project being constructed by Tarleton Corporation. This is an unplanned appropriation to that project. The work to be done consists of replacement of pumps, valves, and associated electrical components to maintain the existing level of service for these two pump stations. The purpose of the project, again, is upgrade these two stations, which were reaching the end of their useful life. This supplemental appropriation of $250,000 is required to complete the construction due to additional cost for unforeseen piping and structural modifications to the existing building and well structures to accommodate the new pumps and damage caused by a rain event on May 3rd, 2022. This supplemental request will bring the total appropriation for this project to $4,750,000. Is there any questions? Thank you. The next item will be requesting introduction and adoption, and I'll explain reasoning there. This is the West Lockwood Sanitary Relief Project. This too appropriates additional funds to an ongoing construction project being constructed by Bates Utility Company. And again, this is also an unplanned supplemental appropriation. The work to be done consists of construction of approximately 3,200 feet of sanitary sewers, 8 to 38 inch in diameter. The purpose of the project is to alleviate building backups and overcharged sanitary sewer. This project will provide for the elimination of 2 constructed overflows, sanitary sewer overflows. The supplemental appropriation of $350,000 is due to lengthy lateral reconnections and additional rock excavation. As part of the construction of the new sewer, the existing sanitary sewer laterals to homes and businesses need to be reconnected to the new sewer. These reconnection costs were accounted for in the project cost. However, while reconnecting the sewers, it was discovered the existing laterals were in poor condition and the contractor could not reconnect, which required him to replace additional length on this of the laterals connecting these homes and businesses. For this reason, the contractor had to replace significantly more lateral than originally planned. Additionally, while excavating and installed, the sanitary contractor encountered significantly more rock than anticipated, which also resulted in increased project costs. Staff is requesting introduction and adoption at the October 13th board meeting to allow this work to be completed in a timely manner. What we're trying to do, 2 things. One, we're running out of money. We don't want the contractor to demobilize. And if we get into the winter time, we won't be able to finish some of the paving operation. So if we intro and adopt, we can get the concrete and asphalt paving done before winter sets in. The supplemental request will bring our total appropriation of the project of $3,150,000. Any questions? All right. Next is the CSO Volume Green Infrastructure Project at the Washington University Baseball Field Upgrades Project. This ordinance authorizes the district to enter into agreement with Washington University to provide financial assistance through the Green Infrastructure Grant Program. The purpose of this project is to reduce combined sewer overflows to the river repair per the long-term control plan. This project will reduce runoff volume with the installation of water quality and water storage system. The total cost of the project is estimated at $639,000, and Washington University is requesting approximately $639,000 reimbursement for the green infrastructure. There's also a map showing the location The fields are located at the corner of Big Bend and Forsyth, and the large green square there is the water quality system. In other words, they'll capture the runoff from the field. It'll go into this storage system and bleed into the back into the combined sewer system, or be utilized for watering purposes. No question, we'll move on. The next is the Cox Creek A pump station improvement. This appropriates additional funds to an ongoing construction project with Plocker Construction. This was a planned appropriation. It's the second year we appropriated the project over 2 years. The work to be done consists of construction of a new submersible pump station and general upgrades to electrical and mechanical control systems. The purpose of this project is to replace and rehabilitate an aging pump station and the associated systems. Again, this is a partial funding request. This appropriation of $3.2 million will bring the total appropriation of the project to $8.2 million and fully fund the construction for the project. Next project is the Hathaway Drive Sanitary Relief Project. This action appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter a construction contract. The work to be done consists of construction of approximately 1,000 linear feet of sanitary sewers 8 to 10 inch in diameter. The purpose of the project is to alleviate wet weather surcharging of the sanitary sewer and reduce building backups. The district received 5 bids on this job. The low bid was from Gershenson Construction Company. The bid was below our design estimate, and the appropriation of $1 million is just above the original budget for the project. Gershenson is committed to 17.12% African American participation on the project, which meets our 17% goal. The next item is the Infrastructure Repair Rehabilitation Contract A project. This action appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter a construction contract. The work to be done consists of rehabilitation of approximately 29,000 feet of sanitary sewers, varying in size from 6 inch to 72 inch in diameter using the cured in place pipe method. The purpose of this project is to reduce infiltration into and rehabilitate older, damaged, and deteriorated sanitary sewers throughout the district. Sewers identified for rehabilitation are identified through the annual CMOM inspection program required by the consent decree. The district received 1 qualified bid for the project. We actually had 2. The second low bid was found to be non-responsive to the MWBE requirements. We went with 1 qualified bid. That was from SAK Construction. The bid was slightly above the designer's estimate, and the appropriation of $2.9 million is above the original budget on the project. SAK is committed to 20.43%. That's 10% minority and 10% women goals for our participation on the project, which meets the goal. We fund our CIPP, our rehabilitation projects, through the state revolving fund program, which requires a 10% minority and 10% women goal. Any questions? Next project is the Lemay Wastewater Treatment Facility Repairs and Improvement Project. This appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into a construction contract. The work to be done consists of the replacement of the grit collection equipment at 4 grit tanks, replacement of electrical duct bank, and conduits to 12 secondary clarifier tanks. General concrete repair, preservation, repair and replacement of perimeter fencing at various locations, and increased coverage of radio and cellular communications throughout the Lemay Wastewater Treatment Facility. The purpose of this project is to replace equipment and purchases that have exceeded their useful life and make improvement for increased staff and site security. The district received 2 bids. The low bid was from Tarleton, and they were found to be non-responsive. They did not meet the 17% MWBE requirement, the MBE requirement for the project. Their bid was approximately $300,000 lower than the Goodwin Brothers bid. So we ended up with 2 responsive bids. There was a third bid on the project. We're recommending go ahead and take the second bid from Goodwin Brothers to get this work started and get it completed. They were, again, the apparent low bidder. The bid was above our design estimate, and our 2-year appropriation of $9.3 million is above the original planned budget. I think I discussed it the last couple meetings on our plant projects where you've got electrical, mechanical equipment. We have seen higher bids on those projects, anywhere from the 10 to 20% range, which is what we're seeing on those types of projects. Overall, for the year, we're still within the CIRP budget for the year, even with a few of those being over budget. Goodwin Brothers committed to 22.4% MBE participation, which exceeded the 17% goal. Are there any questions? Apologize, I got a dry throat. Next project is Lindsay St. Albert Private I&I reduction. This appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter a construction contract. The work to be done consists of the removal of private inflow sources from 3 properties and the construction of approximately 894 linear feet of 8 to 12-inch diameter sewers and appurtenances. The purpose of the project is to reduce inflow and infiltration in the Coldwater watershed, reduce building backups, and relieve overcharged sewers. The district received 7 bids for this project. Low bid was from Understall Contracting. The bid was above our designer's estimate. Our appropriation of $650,000 is above the budget for the project. Understall's committed to 17.04% MBE participation, which is above the 17% goal. Next project is the North Beefy Creek Public I&I Reduction Project. This action appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into a construction contract. The work to be done consists of rehabilitation of approximately 46,000 linear feet of sanitary sewers from 6 to 12 inch in diameter, utilizing the cured in place pipe method. Rehabilitation of 965 service connections and 9 point repairs. The purpose of this project is to reduce inflow and infiltration in the Beefy Creek watershed. We received a total of 2 bids on this project. Our low bid was from In Situ Form Technologies USA. The bid just above the design estimate, and our appropriation of $3.2 million is well below the budget. The scope of this project was reduced during the design and the field inspection of the sewers in the area. The In Situ Farm is committed to 20.3% M and WB participation. Again, our cured in place projects have a 10% minority and 10% women goal, which In Situ Farm is met on this particular project. Next project is the Larimore Storm Sewer. This action appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter a construction contract. The work to be done consists of construction of approximately 4,400 linear feet of storm sewers, 12 to 54 inch in diameter. The purpose of this project is to alleviate roadway, structural, and yard flooding along Larimore Road from Lakeview to Real Avenue. The district received 5 bids on this project. The low bid was from Waymar Farms Incorporated. The bid was below our design estimate, and our appropriation is below the budget for the project. The district, Waymar Farms is committed to just under 18% MB minority participation on the project, which exceeds our 17% goal. The next 2 items are current emergency projects the district has going. The first one is the introduction and adoption request for emergency repair number 70. We indicated this at the last board meeting. We'd be bringing this supplemental appropriation. It appropriates additional funds to a project, emergency project we were working on at Blair and Ferry Avenue. Our contractor is Understall. The work under the current emergency consists of excavating approximately 35 feet a pit over the 66 inch brick downstream of a collapsed manhole. The purpose of the project is to repair the undermining of Blair Street caused by the failure of the manhole structure. This supplemental appropriation of $2.5 million is necessary to repair the collapsing sewers on each side of that structure. The inlet and outlet 66-inch brick sewers connected to this structure are beginning to collapse. The failure could cause backups in a large portion of North City, a street collapse, and possible damage to two 36-inch water mains that are above these sewers. This appropriation provides for the bypassing and abandonment of the manhole structure and the collapsing 66-inch sewers. The work to be done under this appropriation consists of numerous items: the excavation of an 18-foot diameter shaft, 36 feet deep, the tunneling of two liner plate shafts to connect the 18-inch diameter shaft to the existing upstream and downstream sewers, to connect to the new or to bypass the existing manhole structure, and several other items: backfill and restore, replace 4 inlets to be installed and connected to the new 48-inch manhole, and existing lateral be connected to the downstream liner plate. This supplemental request of $2.5 million will bring the total appropriation on this project to $4.5 million. We also do have a kind of some drawings on it. On the first side, kind of shows the previous repairs that the district had made. Upper left was the original collapse, and there was some flowable fill put in to kind of stabilize that. You work down on the left-hand side. The lower is the shoring that was put in to make the repairs on the structure. The picture in the middle is rebuilding that structure and moving forward. And there's a few items that got cut off on the right. And on the next sheet is the plan of action for the sewers. You look at the large picture on the right, there's 2 little highlighted sections. On my sheet, it's purple. The sewers, which are supposed to be round, are starting to collapse, and they've become like an egg shape, flattened out, which is a sign of imminent collapse. So that's what we're going to repair. We've had some geotechnical work in the area around that manhole. And in order to avoid the bad soil conditions, we're going to tunnel, which is the dark red line to the south. Basically, we're going to build a shaft in the middle and then tunnel 2 directions from that and reconnect, and then totally abandon that existing sewer, which is collapsing. And that's what we're $2.5 million. The bottom left is a type of pipe that we'll use once we put the liner plates in and reconnect that.
Hey, Rich, how old is this sewer?
Is it 100? What do we figure 100?
How many of those do we have out there?
I don't know. I don't want to guess, but I would say a good portion of the city of St. Louis was built in the early 1900s, late 18, early 19th. Particularly the older brick sewers, the larger diameter. This particular sewer was actually rehabilitated in the 70s, and we were able to locate some old plans that kind of identified the issues they had with the ground conditions when they built this sewer, which causes it to actually snake around some of the bad conditions that they had at the time.
I mean, is there any way do we have a good inventory of what is out there, and are we planning into
The CMOM program.
Yeah. So we do investigations of them. There are some of the more critical infrastructure, for instance, those part of the brick sewers that are within the floodplain of the Mississippi River that backs up. Those have already been reinforced and relined. There are a lot of brick sewers around. Brick sewer was a good method of construction in the past. The problem is it really, really depends on the stability of the surrounding soils.
Right.
A lot of things can happen, both those soils, work above, groundwater changes. For an example, leaking or partially leaking water mains can cause issues. So we're in a process. We do an investigation going through and seeing what's there. Probably the best way to try and see if something's going on is trying to observe voids or other things are going on outside the brick sewer. That's difficult to get to. We tried different technologies over the last 15 years, and kind of monitoring the shape turns out to be the best way we can get at it. A lot of the ones that have been worse, I think we've taken care of. This is still going to happen on occasion. So do we know there's more that are going to do this? Probably the best thing is for us to keep watching it. And we don't just go chase individual issues either. We then take an evaluation is, should we be rehabbing longer stretches as a preventative measure? So it's a little bit of, smart guessing as to where some of this is going to happen. Rich was indicating the sewer system started in the 1860s.
Right.
So, it's been quite a while that some of this has been in place. And
but we have a program to monitor these things and replace them.
right. So with
reinforce them.
I think the point, we have a program. If it's not brick sewers, it's much more evident that there's something getting ready to happen because of leaking, cracks, movement. The brick sewers, it's a little bit different. When something happens and it starts moving, it happens rather suddenly, and we kind of don't have a feel for what's outside. So it does require us to be diligent, pay attention to them, just like the ones that are non-brick. If they happen to catch us in between investigation periods, something can happen. But we're doing what we can to try and catch these ahead of time. So there are 10,000 miles of sewers out in the system. So we are going to get these every once in a while. And I think, kudos to Rich and Brett and Alan and everybody who's looking at this. The worst thing we could do is go in and try and fix that one little spot that apparently is bad. We're looking at the whole thing and trying to do a holistic fix so we can get in and get out of keep going back in those places.
Okay. Any other questions? Next item is a new emergency since the last board meeting. We'll be asking for introduction and adoption. This is emergency repair number 71. It appropriates funds and authorized staff to enter emergency construction contract. The work under this contract consists of the excavation and repair of approximately 15 feet of 8-inch diameter sewer and appurtenances at 2 locations near the intersection of South Brentwood and Forsyth in the city of Clayton. Their first repair is at a sinkhole in the parking lane next to 8040 Forsyth. Repairs needed to clear the main and assess possible damage to the sanitary sewer at the intersection of South Brentwood and Forsyth, which may result in a second 15-foot linear sewer. Doesn't say it here, but it's approximately 30 feet deep, so it's not a simple dig down. This is why we declared it emergency, and where it's located requires special shoring so we don't take out all of Forsyth and Brentwood Boulevard. The district declared this project an emergency on September 19th. The contractor Bates was selected per MSD emergency declaration policy, and the repairs started and expected to be completed sometime this month. The estimated construction price for this is approximately $400,000. The contractor is encouraged to employ MWB to the extent practical, and based on our preliminary cost and discussions with the contractor, we expect that MBE participation of 17% to be met. Again, there's a drawing kind of shows the location. And again, what identified this was basically just a depression, just upstream of that manhole that you see there in the picture on the left. As you can see from the picture in the middle of our mapping, there's a lot of sewers in the area.
Yeah, Rich, they don't have the pictures.
Oh, you didn't get that. I apologize. I guess they sent it to me and I didn't send it to you. Sorry. So I'll make sure that the board gets a copy of this work. So. Are there any questions on that? All right. The next 4 items are pertain to easement acquisition and 1 property acquisition. Requested a board action for proceeding with the acquisition on those properties. First one is Greenbrier number 2 pump station. This ordinance authorized staff to proceed with further condemnation efforts, including the filing of all necessary pleading court documents leading to the acquisition of 1 permanent and temporary construction easements on one parcel of ground in the city of Des Peres. The easements and temporary construction easements are needed, which will for construction of approximately 927 lineal feet of 8-inch sanitary gravity sewers and appurtenance, which will allow for the elimination of a pump station 448 as required by the consent decree. The purpose of this project is to replace this pump station, which has exceeded its design life, with a gravity sewer and eliminate the pump station. The overall project, there were a total of 5 easements to be required. 4 have been required, which is leaving this one. Unfortunately, this one easement is the downstream section of pipe. To eliminate it is necessary to complete the project. You do have a display on this one. Shows the easement adjacent to an existing home located on Barrett Grove. This is a situation, we've talked about this before. We've made numerous contacts and left door hangers. You know, we have been able, the house is in a trust, and that really makes it hard on trying to identify. The trust has an address. They're not responding to our contacts. We've been at this for months, and sometimes it just takes the condemnation letter to get some action out of the homeowners. So at this time, we do anticipate that this would go to condemnation. All right, the next item is the Salesville Sanitary Relief Project. This ordinance authorized staff to proceed with further condemnation efforts, including the filing of all necessary court pleadings and documents for the acquisition of permanent temporary construction easements on 6 parcels of ground in the city of Chesterfield. The easements and temporary construction easements are needed to construct this project, which consists of approximately 4,000 feet of 8 to 18-inch diameter sewer and 690 feet of stream bank stabilization. The purpose of the project is to alleviate basement backups and surcharging of sanitary sewer, and to alleviate yard erosion at various residential properties within the system. This project required 13 easements. Initially, we've acquired 7 of those, leaving 6 for condemnation. We continue to negotiate with the properties. The first parcel, we've got those up there. Parcel 4, we've made 7 contacts with this property owners over 3 months. We did meet with the property owner one time and explain the easement required there at the back of their property, and we're just not getting response out of the property owner. Next parcel is parcel 21, which is down to the lower right-hand corner of the document. We've been contacting this property owner since the late part of June, again for another 3 months. We did meet with them at the site, and it does appear that we would get this. The property owner indicated that he would sign the easement and get it back notarized, but it's been over a month and we're not getting any response out of him. So we're not sure what the holdup is, and he's not returning our calls. Parcel 23 in the middle, as you can see, that's a pretty extensive easement. Again, we've attempted just to meet with this property owner 5 times. We spoke with a neighbor. He said there is somebody does not live there, but checks on the property daily. We've left door hangers, and they have not responded. Next, parcel 25. This particular property, as you can see, is a commercial property. We've spoken with the owner and to go over the easement. We met with them. The owners are obviously concerned about loss of parking. We're trying to work that out. We've sent our appraisal to them. They're having their attorney and they're having their own appraisal completed on the project. Again, in order to keep the project moving forward, we're requesting for moving to condemnation. And then the final parcel number 34, which is just a small piece on the upper left-hand corner of a property. This property owner, we've actually, again, left 5 messages, stopped by the property, and not getting cooperation from the property owner. It isn't much of an easement, but we would still be getting on their property to construct that last manhole there on the project. So we're hoping to get that property going. So are there any questions on that particular one? There's a lot of items to cover there. All right, the next one is the WW2, WW3 Warson Woods Sanitary Relief Project. This ordinance authorized staff to proceed with condemnation efforts and the filing of all necessary court pleadings and documents, leading to the acquisition of permanent temporary construction easements on 9 parcels located in the cities of Glendale, Rock Hill, Warson Woods, Ladue, and Kirkwood. Easements and temporary construction construction easements are needed to construct approximately 10,600 feet of 8 to 24-inch diameter sanitary sewers at various residential and commercial properties to provide for the elimination of 3 constructed sanitary sewer overflows per the consent decree. On this particular project, there were 55 easements to be required, so we've made pretty good headway. 46 have been required, leaving these final 9 for condemnation. We're continuing to negotiate, and I'll briefly go through these negotiations right now. First parcel is parcel 19. A little bit out of order here. This property owner is represented by an attorney. That attorney will typically not engage until after the district proceeds to condemnation. We do anticipate on this particular property to go to condemnation. Parcel 153, this property owner, we've met with them, had multiple discussions. We've got an active ongoing negotiations. We have not completed those negotiations. We do not anticipate going to condemnation on this particular property. Next parcel is parcel 63. That is, get my notes here. That is right on Manchester. It's the Glendale Chrysler Plymouth. We've met with them numerous times. They actually have a plan to redevelop. So we've worked numerous alignments on the property. There's a portion, it doesn't show here, there's a portion of some sewers that are under an existing building now. So we're working out on encroachment agreements for those sewers. We do feel like right now we're close to reaching an agreement with them. So we do not anticipate going to condemnation, but we want to proceed with all the other properties just in case the negotiation falls through. Parcel 86 and 87. Those are commercial properties, again, along Manchester Road. The owner's been non-responsive. I'm sorry, I got the wrong one. We have engaged this property owner. Again, there are some complex issues because the alignment on the Glendale Chrysler Plymouth has changed a few times, so it impacts where it crosses Manchester there and gets onto his property. The owner's still kind of getting his feel for it. They're just not engaging with us in the discussions to try to coordinate with them. And a lot of times on these, we'll work with the property owners. As you can see, we're going through some of their parking areas, try to arrange and reach agreement on, when we can work there, when we can't work there, which requires a lot of times to actually get into condemnation negotiations with the property owner. Next parcel's 85. The owner's not responded. The owner, we actually did just reach out. They finally reached back to us, and based on our initial conversation, we do feel like we're going to be able to agree and don't anticipate going to condemnation. Parcel 99 on the upper right-hand corner, the owner is represented by an attorney. We've exchanged information with that attorney. The attorney indicates that the property owner is willing to negotiate, and we don't anticipate going to condemnation, but we're proceeding in order in case those negotiations fall through. Parcels 100 and 101, we've met with both property owners. One is represented by an attorney, and we've exchanged that information. As you can see, there's a trend here. Once one neighbor ends up having an attorney, talks to the other neighbors, and the attorney is able to secure them as a client to work with MSD to get them. Parcel 100, we do not anticipate going to condemnation, but unfortunately, parcel 109, they've broken off their discussion with us and will not talk to us. So overall, when you got 55, I think we've done a great job and gotten down, but hopefully we'll get these very complicated project weaving into neighborhoods, and then obviously the complexities of working around commercial properties. But the staff, we work very hard. Very seldom do we actually even have to go to condemnation, but we do request that permission from the board. Any questions on that one? All right, the next one is actually for a request for condemnation for a property acquisition, actually purchasing of a property. This ordinance authorizes staff to proceed with the purchase of property necessary for the project and to use further condemnation efforts for the filing of all necessary court pleadings and documents leading to the acquisition of one parcel of ground located in the city of Pagedale to allow the area necessary to accommodate the construction of a sanitary storage tank, pump station, and collection sewers. This project will alleviate wet weather building backups and overcharged sanitary sewers. This particular piece of ground in Pagedale, we came back in 2016 and acquired 2 parcels of ground for this. We're in the design. It's a design build project. We're in the preliminary design. And based on the preliminary design, we need another parcel of ground. We've started those negotiations with the property owner and can't reach an agreement for this purchase. So we're coming to the board for permission to purchase this property and to proceed to condemnation efforts if possible. Once we reach that agreement, we would come back to the board in closed session to discuss the actual purchase. Some questions? All right, we got some renewals of some contracts coming, and then there's some engineering design contracts that I'm bringing to your attention today. First item is the General Services Agreement, Facility and Sewer Design Contract A. This action appropriates additional funds and authorizes staff to amend a design contract. It authorizes the district to amend into Amendment Number 2 with Donahue and Associates for design of various projects in the CIP and operations budget. This project consists of the design of small sanitary combined sewers, storm sewers, and treatment plant projects as needed throughout the district in support of our ongoing internal design effort. This contract for a total of $475,000. The projects will be issued by letter agreement with individual scopes of services. After this amendment, the total design appropriation will be $950,000, and this is the first and only and the final option year of this renewal with this contractor. The appropriation for design services is equal to that proposed in the CIP budget. The next one is renewal of the General Services Agreement Facility and Sewer Design, Contract B. Appropriates funds and authorized staff to amend a design contract. Allows the district to amendment number 1 for 1 year with GHD Incorporated for planning assistance on various CIP projects in the operation budget. This project consists of the condition assessment and remaining of useful life, a small sanitary combined storm sewer and treatment plant project as needed throughout the district in support of our ongoing planning efforts. Projects will be used by letter agreement for individual scopes of services. This contract is for a total of $450,000. After this amendment, the total design appropriation will be $800,000. The appropriation of $450,000 is equal to that is what's presented in the budget for this year. Next item is support services for stream flow water quality sampling. This appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into a contract. This ordinance authorizes the district to enter into contract with Geosyntec Consultants. The purpose of this contract is to perform water quality sampling to comply with our post-construction monitoring program as required by the consent decree. Samples will be collected from 6 sites on the Mississippi River on a biweekly basis. Samples will also be collected from 3 sites on the Missouri River once every 4 weeks, help establish upstream background concentration and water impacts from St. Louis area. Field water quality analysis and stream observations will be performed as required by the consent decree. Water quality monitoring is required by the EPA to demonstrate compliance with water quality standards as part of our district long-term control plan. This water quality monitoring proposal will be for the duration of 3 years with this vendor. The original contract for 1 year with the option for 2 more years with board approval. This is the first of those 3 years. We did put this project out for proposal. We received 2 proposals, one from Geosyntec and one from Wood Environmental, and Geosyntec was a selected contractor. Our appropriation of $254,640 is approximately $95,000 less than what we had in the budget for the project. Any questions? All right, the next several items are new engineering design contracts for projects that we have planned to construct over the next several years. First one is the BCO1 Phase 3 and BCO2 Phase 2 projects. BC stands for Black Creek. Appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter into a design contract. This ordinance authorizes the district to enter a contract with Lockmuller and Associates for the design of this project. It is a lump sum cost project to design approximately 13,000 feet of 8 to 30-inch diameter sewers. The purpose of the project is to alleviate wet weather building backups and overcharged sanitary sewers. This project will provide for the elimination of 4 constructed sanitary sewer overflows. The construction cost estimate of the project is just under $10 million and anticipated to begin construction in our fiscal year 2027. There were 2 other proposals considered on this project. The appropriation of $1,545,000 for design services is $160,000 below the proposed budget funding that we had in the project. Lockmuller is committed to just approximately 51% MWB participation for various services with the 3 firms listed. There is no MWBE goal on this project. Next project is the Glen Echo Sanitary Relief. This appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter a design contract. This ordinance authorizes the district to enter a design contract with Civil Design Incorporated for design of this project. It is a lump sum cost project design for the preparation and construction documents to construct approximately 6,200 lineal feet of 15 to 21-inch diameter sanitary sewers and appurtenances. Purpose of this project alleviates sanitary sewer surcharging during wet weather and eliminating suspected known sanitary sewer overflows on the Glen Echo Golf Course. The construction cost estimate for this project is $4,340,000. Again, there were 2 other proposals considered for this project. Our appropriation of $721,000 for the design services is $9,000 below the proposed budget funding for the project. MWBE participation, civil design is a certified woman-owned company, and additionally with minority and Hispanic firms, the total participation was just under 90% participation on this particular design project, and there is no subcontracting, MWB subcontracting goal on the project.
Will this be one that Brian spends particular attention to, of being on a golf course?
It was more the Washington University baseball field I was worried about.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, I will hear about it, so
Okay.
I'll learn.
We'll make sure you make some site visits.
I think the chairman of our rate commission would be interested in this. So.
All right, the next item is the South Brentwood Boulevard Sanitary Relief. This ordinance authorizes the district to enter a contract with David Mason Associate for the design of the South Brentwood Sanitary Relief. It's a lump sum design of approximately 28 linear feet of 8 to 24 inch diameter sewers. Purpose of this project is alleviate wet weather building backups and overcharged sanitary sewer. This project will provide for elimination of one constructed sanitary sewer overflow. The construction cost estimate for this project is approximately $4.6 million. Construction is anticipated to begin in the district's fiscal year 2025. There were two other proposals considered on this project. The appropriation of $542,000 for design services is $42,000 above the proposed funding in the CRP budget supplement. David Mason is a minority-owned African-American firm and is utilizing one other minority firm. We're expecting a total participation of minority MWBE of almost 94% on this particular project. Last item is the Webster Groves Trunk East Sanitary Relief project. It appropriates funds and authorizes staff to enter a design contract. This ordinance authorizes the district to enter a contract with Burns and McDonnell Engineering Company for the design of the Webster Groves Trunk E. It is a lump sum cost project for the design of 6,700 feet of 12 to 54 inch diameter sewers. The purpose of this project is to alleviate wet weather building backups and overcharged sanitary sewers. This project will provide for the elimination of two constructed sanitary sewer overflows. The construction estimate for this project is approximately $8,760,000, and construction is expected to begin in our current fiscal year 2026. There are two other proposals considered on this project. The appropriation of $1,324,000 for design services is $188,000 below the proposed funding for the project in the current capital improvement program. Burns & McDonnell is committed to just under 32% MWBE subcontractor participation with the firms provided. There's no goal for the project, so they're exceeding that goal. That concludes the agenda items. Are there any questions from any of the members? We do, or I don't know if he's on mute or.
Trustee Nicholasison, would you like us to go on to other business?
Yes.
I didn't know if he was on mute, so. All right.
I was just figuring you were gonna go right into it since you mentioned it.
No problem. No problem. I didn't want to get started if you weren't ready. All right.
No,
All right.
no.
Next item under other business. This year, St. Louis's municipal separate stormwater or MS4 program, which is a cooperative effort among St. Louis County, 59 other cities, and led by MSD, was recognized by the Water Environment Federation as the best managed program of its kind in the nation. We wanted to highlight this achievement to the board today. Next slide. Sure. The Water Environment Federation is the premier technical organization of water wastewater professionals. WEF's membership encompasses over 30,000 members nationwide and internationally. The National Municipal Stormwater and Green Infrastructure Awards Program, administered by WEF through a cooperation agreement with the US EPA, was created to recognize high-performing regulated MS4 programs. The objectives of the award program is to inspire MS4 program leaders and to share innovative approaches to meet and exceed regulatory requirements. In 2020, MSD was awarded the National Award for Innovation. Next item, why was St. Louis selected, MSD selected? MS4 activities involve public outreach, education, public participation, pollution discharge detection and elimination, stormwater runoff control from construction site, post-construction stormwater runoff control from developed sites, stormwater pollution control from municipal operations. MSD, St. Louis County municipalities share responsibility for 69 distinct activities. The slide that I show there just highlights some of those activities, and I'll discuss those. The St. Louis group is the largest group of co-permittees in the United States. Coordination of these activities across so many different governmental organizations is full compliance with permit requirements, requires good cooperation and communication. For over a decade, the group has complied with permit requirements and passed all DNR audits and inspections without one single violation. MSD staff and partners provide a broad and cost-effective public outreach and education campaign. Through partnerships with St. Louis University, St. Louis Aquarium, the Missouri Botanical Garden, the Open Space Council, and others, we deliver a positive water quality message to a wide range of people in a wide range of venues. Our goal is to provide this message to all the people using all the methods of communications in ways people can relate. MSD uses use of technology to manage data on stormwater infrastructure, inspections, and development projects is special among our peer utilities. Information technology allows MSD to cost-effectively cover a large service area with a high degree of compliance. MSD's Green Infrastructure Small Grant Program is a unique public outreach program. Annually, the program provides approximately $200,000 of total funding to reimburse homeowners for installing rain gardens, pervious pavement, and other practices that reduce stormwater runoff. Ultimately, the district's program goal is to protect water quality. MSD samples water from every stream in the district, and the data shows that water quality is generally improving throughout the St. Louis area. Next slide. Each fall, WEF holds an annual conference known as WEF Tech. This year it's in New Orleans. Jason Peter and my staff from our environmental compliance who are here in the room today, if you guys want to stand, will be present at the conference and will receive the award on MSD's behalf. Again, they're here today to answer any questions you may have. And needless to say, we're very proud of an award like this because it's very humbling to know that our efforts aren't going unawarded.
Congratulations.
Any questions from the board? That concludes my report, Trustee Nicholson.
All right, congratulations, Rich, and to your team. Our next tentative meeting date is November 1st, 2022. Can I get approval for an adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Trustee Fair, we'll let you know when we're set to go.
Good morning. This is the 283rd meeting of the Finance Committee. Roll call.
I will note all trustees are in attendance with trustees Nicholasison and Fair online.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a motion for approval of the preceding meeting minutes?
So moved.
Minutes are approved. Tim, if you'd like to move forward with the portfolio update.
All right, thank you. We'll look first at our portfolio update that we look at every month. I'll start in the upper right with the portfolio and policy limits. You can see that we are in compliance with all of our policy limits. The interest-bearing collateralized deposit is almost at zero. That's a interest-bearing bank account where we keep some funds in. We had some large outflows that have drawn that mostly down this past month. Although overall, you'll see in the upper left, the portfolio still it's about $728 million. That's roughly where it was last month. I think just a little bit higher. So we've still brought in more money than we've put out. The big changes in the upper left here are really in the rates. Interest rates continue to move up pretty rapidly. So the 3.31 that you see on the screen is actually an error for the benchmark rate. That should be 4.19. So the average 1 to 3 year treasury has moved up almost 90 basis points in just the last month. That's almost a full percent. That whole portfolio, remember, turns over every month. Our portfolio, we turned over about 10% of the portfolio. So we invested about $70 million new dollars at about 4.4%. That raised our yield to maturity up about 25 basis points because it's only a portion of our portfolio. We invested out in between 2 and 2.5 years. So our weighted average maturity, which is the WAM there, also went up a little bit to 1.3. Benchmark maturity stayed about the same. So again, we're chasing that benchmark yield as it goes up just because it can go up much faster because the whole thing turns over. So we are moving up just more slowly. Nothing special to note in the fund summary. Debt project funds went down a little bit. MSD operation, total operations funds were up. Maturity distribution is where you can see the difference between the benchmark and our portfolio. The benchmark is the red, mostly in that 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 years. Our operating portfolio is usually a little bit shorter because we use that money to fund projects and operations. Any questions on the operating portfolio? If not, I'll move on. I'm actually going to do items 4 and 5 together. So I am going to ask you for 2 introduction and adoption ordinances next week. Usually when we do these loans, we'll intro 1 month, adopt the next. Because rates are going up so quickly, I want to do an intro and adopt and see if we can lock in the rates a little bit more quickly. So these 2 loans are based from the State Revolving Fund. That's what SRF is. We've talked about State Revolving Fund many times before, but it's one of the main sources. You can go to the next slide, Stephanie, sorry. It's one of the main sources of borrowing that we have. It's usually our lowest cost form of borrowing. And I know sometimes we talk about why we don't do more from this fund, but we actually do as much as we can. And because mostly of the efforts of our engineering group, we actually get more funds from this program than anybody else in the state. And that's really apparent this year. So the last intended use plan that was adopted last October and amended earlier this year, there's about $480 million of funding available for projects throughout the state. 2 of these loans that we're going to intro and adopt next month come from that 480. One is a $10 million loan for some I&I reduction. Phase 7, that's the sewer rehabilitation, Rich talked about a little bit earlier. And then another $115 million for the Lower Merrimack River system improvement. So there's mostly the biggest part of that is a tunnel. And then in addition to that, we actually have another $230 million that we're not ready to borrow yet for the fluidized bed incinerator. So that 480 that's available, 350 is actually allocated to MSD. So while when we do long-term planning, we don't expect to have this much available, this is just, I think, an example of how we're always looking for ways we can maximize this program. And so engineering and Treasury work very closely with the state to take advantage of these opportunities when they're available. I estimate that we'll save about $40 million in interest over the life of these loans versus a 30-year capital market. So this is significant savings. Now, the next slide just tells you a little bit about the projects again. Rehabilitating sewers using mostly cured and replace piping for the I&I reduction. The tunnel project is a long tunnel, 36,000 feet, 8 feet in diameter, about 100 feet below the surface. We actually already have issued or received an SRF loan for phase 1 of this project. So this is phase 2. This funding broken up in pieces. The covenants of the loan will look just like all of our other SRF loans. So there's nothing new there. Just requires us to, continue to operate and own the system. There will be a pledge of revenue that secures the loan. The state will set a sinking fund schedule. Expected financial terms are on the next page. These loans are usually 20 years, and they will be. We've set the model rate in the ordinance right now at 150. That's a little bit higher than where the rate actually is. That'll give us some room for in the next few weeks as we get this closed if rates move up a little bit. But right now the rates are about 1.29. They have actually not been that high in the last 3.5 years for these kind of loans. There'll be a 50 basis point or 0.5% annual admin fee added on top of that. We've got about $800,000 of cost of issuance from these two loans. And then we'll have to start paying these back already in 24 and 25 in small amounts. These are kind of set like mortgages where you have principal and interest payments regularly. That schedules are on the next page. I won't spend a lot of time on those, but combined we'll have about annual outlays of about $8 million in principal and interest over roughly 20 years to pay these back. And then just to give you an idea on the next slide of what kind of debt authorization we still have remaining. We did have $900 million approved by voters in 2016, another $500 million in 2021. Prior to these loans, we have about $750 million still available. After these will be more like $630. The bulk of that $630 is going to be taken up by the fluidized bed incinerator. So that will be coming out over the next couple of years. So after, probably by the end of next year, we're going to have very little debt authorization remaining. And as we go into the next rate cycle process, we're going to talk about what we need to fund the next few years of the program. So that's something we'll talk about next year. So again, on the last slide, the action, there's going to be 2 ordinances up for intro and adoption for these loans. And again, the reason I want to do the intro and adopt is just so that we can lock in the rates more quickly since rates are going up. Any questions on the SRF loans? If not, I'll move to the next one. This is just an update on WIFIA. I'll move through this pretty quickly because there's actually no action I'm asking from you here. But WIFIA, if you remember, is a federal program that was created in 2016. We were actually one of the first entities in the country, one of the first 12 out of over 60 applications submitted to receive a WIFIA loan. We went back to the program last year for a loan. We submitted a letter of interest, and that our project was again accepted. We are now ready to apply. So I just wanted to let you know that we're going to be starting that process. There's a $100,000 application fee, but again, by submitting this, getting the loan set, we can lock in rates. And then this project is large. It will take some time, so we will continue to evaluate other funding opportunities as well. Right now, we're planning to pair this with an SRF loan, which is what we did last time. Only 49% of project funding can come from the WIFIA program. There are a lot of other requirements with WIFIA, like with SRF2 reporting, that sometimes make it a burden. But the rate is generally has been lower than what we get from the capital markets. But we're going to apply for the loan, get a rate locked in, and then over time we'll continue to monitor what's happening in the capital markets, what kind of SRF might be available, and then ultimately make a final decision on how to fund the large project. But this gives us flexibility. The $100,000 application fee is kind of like insurance. Lets us lock in rates in case they keep going up, is why we're doing that. The loan projects are described on the next slide. Again, at this point, we don't have an ordinance ready yet, but the big part of these is the fluidized bed incinerator project. The original estimated cost of all these programs was a little under $600 million, but with inflation and sourcing issues, that has actually gone up significantly. So engineering is working on new estimates for that project. Any questions about WIFIA? All right, the next 3 projects are not mine, so we're going to jump to John Sprague, and then to Marion G., and then to Brett Berthold.
Well, good morning, trustees. I have a resolution on the agenda for Oracle EBS support services. This action is necessary to authorize a contract with Rimini Street for software support, patching, security services on our legacy Oracle EBS. You know, that's the system we're currently moving to the cloud, but we have to support the existing system. This is an IT contract for $190,000, and this resolution will authorize the district to renew option year 1 of 1 with Rimini Street. It'll run from December 22 to December 23. Are there any questions on this resolution? I thank you.
Great. Marion?
Thank you, Tim. The next item is a resolution which is requesting a transfer of $3 million from our wastewater emergency, or to our wastewater emergency fund from our general fund. It actually relates to 2 projects that Rich discussed earlier that totaled $2.9 million that are being funded or proposed to be funded out of our wastewater emergency fund. With our emergency funds, we don't budget specific projects in those funds because we bring those to the board as it becomes necessary. So this $3 million transfer will allow us to fund those 2 emergency projects that Rich mentioned earlier. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Then Brett's got the last item.
Okay, good morning, trustees. The resolution before you will allow us to exercise option year 2 of 4 for power system studies located throughout our treatment plants and pump station group. The contractor is Rawson Berzini. The purpose of this contract is to provide district staff with the ability to access existing electrical power lineups at district facilities. So consider these the high voltage switchgear and those types of things. These studies will assess the electrical hazards in the workplace and provide PPE, personal protective equipment, recommendations and selection guidelines for district employees based on the arc flash hazard risks. The power system studies will put us in compliance with OSHA and an NFPA 70E, which is the National Fire Protection Agency standard for electrical safety in the workplace. This contract is, there's no appropriation with the resolution. It is funded through my department and my operating budget. And our estimated spend this year is about $200,000. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you all. Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, November 1st. And if there is no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
All right, thank you. The meeting is concluded.
Thank you. Trustee Wilson, we'll switch things out and be ready to go for the last meeting. Yeah.
Good morning. Welcome to the October 2022 meeting of the Stakeholder Relations Committee. Can I get a roll call, please?
Well, record will reflect that all trustees are in attendance with trustees Nicholas and Fair online.
Thank you. There are no comments. I entertain a motion for approval of the August committee minutes.
Second.
With no objection, minutes are approved. We'll move right along to Ms. Coleman this morning. Good morning. Happy October. Happy.
Same to you, and good morning, trustees. I'd like to bring your attention to the adoption of Resolution 3789. This is for the group dental benefit plan that we have at the district currently right now with Cigna. This resolution would allow us to enter into the final year of a contract that we have with our dental benefits with Cigna. This contract would be for $177,000. If there are any questions about this resolution, I'd like to present it for adoption. Questions about the Cigna dental benefit? Okay. The next resolution I'd like to present is Resolution 3791 for adoption. This is the accidental death and dismemberment insurance that we currently have with Standard Life Insurance Company. This is an annual agreement allowing us to get into year 2 of 3 of option years that we have with the standard for this insurance. The current plan that we have, we use Cigna to acquire this insurance, and it ends December 31st of 2021. And this particular action will allow us to go into, again, like I said earlier, year 2 of 3 of this particular. Are there questions at all about this contract for $192,000, the accidental death and dismemberment insurance? And the last resolution I have is Resolution 3792. This is for the long-term disability coverage that we have with the Standard Life Insurance. This plan is due to expire December 31st. It's year 2 of 3 of option years that we have on this particular contract. The amount of it is for $170,000, which again will cover the long-term disability coverage that we have here at the district. Questions about this particular resolution I'm introducing for adoption?
Appear to be no.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot about the FMLA. That's kind of important. Okay, so I'm so sorry. The additional one that I have is the resolution 3790, which is for our FMLA administrator provider. The Standard is the vendor that we use for FMLA administration. That contract is due to expire December 31st of 2022. This particular resolution authorizes the district to enter into year 2 of 3 of the 3-year agreement that we have with the Standard. And that contract will go from January 2023 to December 31st of 2023 for a cost of $14,100. Questions about the FMLA Standard, the vendor that we use to do that?
Okay, thank you. And move right along, Mr. Holscher.
Okay. Board members, there's a chart in front of you entitled Rate Commission 2023, 2025, 2027. That's the document I'll talk to. Trustee Fair, Trustee Nicholas, you should have a copy of that as well, and it is up on the screen. So this has to do with the appointment of the rate commissioners for the next rate proposal process. Some background information on the responsibilities of the rate commission. Their responsibilities to review staff proposals and make recommendations to the board regarding any wastewater or stormwater rates or taxes, including any change in structure of those rates or taxes. The rate commission begins its review upon submission of a proposal by MSD staff, currently planned this year for March 2023. The rate commission will have 165 calendar days to complete its review and forward any comments or recommendations to the Board of Trustees. Upon delivery of its report, the Rate Commission's responsibilities end. They no longer stand until we prepare another report. Looking at this chart, very quickly going over where we're at and how we've gotten to our recommendation. One of the requirements of the rate commission is that the rate commission is to represent interests listed on the chart. So these are actually listed in the charter. Commercial, industrial, residential, environmental issues, labor issues, socioeconomic, and community neighborhood organizations. And with the follow-up of a lot of these, you can see we've kind of covered all those bases with the various organizations in the past. The rate commission is divided into 3 6-year classes, somewhat similar to the U.S. Senate. So first of all, who is remaining on the rate commission, whose term is not expired? If you look under the chart that says expires 1/31/2023, I have contacted Education Plus, St. Louis Council of Construction Consumers, and the League of Women Voters, and said they will be continuing on the rate commission. So there's no action required for those 3. Let's see. The other folks who have been on the rate commission in the past, but whose terms have expired and have expressed interest to remain in the class of 2025, it's the Missouri Coalition for the Environment, Missouri Industrial Energy Consumers, Mountain City Bar Association, and the St. Louis County Municipal League. And then in the class, which is currently expired, which would now be the new 2027 class, is the Associated General Contractors, Greater St. Louis Labor Council, Engineers Club of St. Louis, City of Ladue, and the Home Builders Association. In soliciting for this, contrary to past years, I think COVID probably has a lot to do with this. We've had some entities who have participated in the past who have dropped out. You will see there's 3 of those there. They've indicated they will no longer be participating. And we did not get proactively actual proposals from anybody to participate. We went through the normal advertising and contact campaign. So I went out and proactively started soliciting entities who had expressed some interest in the past. You look at the top, there are 2 organizations who expressed a desire to serve on the rate commission. That's the City of Florissant and the St. Louis Realtors. So right now I have got 14 of the 15 open spots for folks who have asked to participate. For your consideration, I would recommend as part of the ordinance, and this is the way the ordinance is currently set up, that the City of Florissant and the St. Louis Realtors would fill the class that right now expires in 2023, which also has Education Plus, St. Louis Council of Construction Consumers, and the League of Women Voters. There is 1 other spot that's open right now. It would be in what's currently the class of 2025. I have now got 3 entities I'm talking to, soliciting kind of the first one that says yes. I will bring them to you for consideration. We kind of ran into a spot here. If you're curious about why folks are dropping off and not participating, I think some of it's COVID. We also ran into a couple folks who've been long-term delegates for various organizations, have retired from those organizations. And they really didn't have anybody who wanted to spend the time. It is a lot of work, over 165 days to go through this process. So what I'm proposing, the amendment is proposing, or the ordinance is proposing, is for what will now be the class of 2023, still applying, we'll add the City of Florissant and St. Louis Realtors to the 3 existing organizations. The class of 2025 is just a rollover, those 4 entities from the previous 6-year class. And the class of 2027 is a rollover from the 5 folks who were in that expired class previously. This is an ordinance for the board to approve those organizations. What I would request is consideration of introduction and adoption. When we have that many new rate commissioners, there's a couple-month business process the rate commission goes through to set their officers, select consultants, review their rules. I'd ask for introduction and adoption with so many new members. I think the extra time would be helpful to the rate commission as they prepare for receiving our proposal in March 2023. Any questions? I appreciate that. Assuming there's introduction and adoption, the next day I will contact these organizations. We'll let them get started doing their business. So I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Paradis. How
Good
are you
morning.
today? Great.
I'm here to deliver our annual diversity report for the last fiscal year, FY 2022. And we have good news to share as usual. You should have a copy of the report in front of you, and it's also on the screen. In this year's report, we'll be covering the capital improvement replacement program, construction and design areas for both utilization as well as workforce. And we will cover the small contractor infrastructure repairs program, as well as our community benefit initiatives that we currently have ongoing through our community benefits agreement. So let's start out with the capital construction utilization reports. In construction, there were 83 projects awarded worth $176.4 million. 76 projects were non-building sewer construction projects with the 17% African American goals. One of those projects was under $50,000, which did not meet the threshold to have goals. And 6 were state-funded projects through our SRF program. Those have the state goals of 10% MBE, 10% WBE. In terms of the commitments for those contracts that were awarded, we saw that 26% of the total dollar amounts, or $45.8 million, was designated as commitments to MWBE firms. And in terms of the active projects we had going on, the payments that were made on those active projects equally were $45 million, or 23.13% of the total dollars that were went out the door to MWBEs in payments for last year. Next, I'll cover the workforce report. To the left, you'll see the workforce goals for building, non-building construction of 30% minority, 7% women, and where apprentices and training is taking place, 40% of that training is designated for for minorities and women. On our state-funded projects, our workforce goals are 14.7% minority and 6.9% women. And on the right, you'll see the total number of hours worked on active projects in terms of the boots on the ground that were working on the active projects. For building and non-building combined, we saw about 500,000 hours worked on our projects last year. And that includes at the bottom 174,000 hours were worked on 51 state-funded construction projects. And this next slide will give a breakdown of the percentages for our workforce numbers. The total hours of minority and minority participation was 27.29%. Women participation was 7.4%. The chart also measures 30% minority and 7% workforce goals across all of our construction projects, including the state-funded projects with the lower workforce goals. And you'll see a slight shortfall due to the lower state-funded projects, but overall, we continue to see very good participation with all of our contracts having met workforce goal participation. And in terms of the training that's taking place, overwhelmingly, we continue to see numbers upward of 60% for minorities and women on our projects. And this is the fourth consecutive year that we've seen our women participation in construction exceed the 7% goals across our programs. And this next slide shows in a chart what our participation has been over the past 3 years, where you see that the women participation has been pretty consistent over the past 3 years, with exceeding our goals to have at least 7% workforce from women participation. Next slide. The next set of information is our design report for our capital program. Design projects also continue to bring forth good MWBE participation, despite not having goals in that area. 21 project awards were made last year worth $7.7 million, with $4.9 million or 64% of that spend going to MWBE firms. And to go along with that, a little over 50% of the payments made on design contracts also went to MWBEs. In tracking the local workforce office goals for design firms working on MSD projects, 16.33% of design professionals working on our projects are minorities, and we remain committed to bringing those numbers up to better align with the utilization of the spend with minority firms. However, women participation climbed to 36.29% this past year, up from 32% in the previous year. This next slide demonstrates the overall most recent 3 years of participation for design workforce. When we chart out the design workforce participation over the past 3 years, we've been consistent with the local offices within our area for participation. And as I stated before, we overwhelmingly see great amount of participation in terms of the women in the design professional services area. In the next slide, I'll cover the small contractor program. This program continues to flourish, and it's proven to be extremely beneficial to small businesses with limited resources, experience, and qualifications with doing sewer construction work. Program participation dollars shows both the sanitary and storm sewer participation at about 40% participation, which is awesome in this area. The number of projects performed by minorities and women is close to reaching 50% of the total number of jobs at about 47% combined overall spend. And you can see based off of the chart here that it's up from about 30% to reaching 40% this year. That's a 10% climb in terms of the participation in the overall program. So I'd like to give Mike Butcher and his staff kudos for maintaining the great levels of participation and working with the MWBE firms that participate in the program. And this next set of information is information that we have from our formal agreement we have in place with the CBA signatories through our community benefits agreement. We continue to focus on efforts that bring resources into the community and work to eliminate barriers for MWBEs as well as minorities and women and small businesses within our region. So our focus remains on job training, employment opportunities, education internships, outreach opportunities, building business opportunities for minority and women-owned firms. And we have added the implementation of the disparity study update, as the disparity study is a component of the community benefits agreement. So in terms of our programs that we're currently focused on, first is the Workforce Development Job Training Program. The Building Union Diversity Program is a pre-apprenticeship training gateway for economically disadvantaged, and it's in partnership with the St. Louis Skilled Trades and various other organizations within the construction industry, and it's focused on workforce development. MSD continues to sponsor participants of the program who are experiencing some form of economic or social disadvantage. And our main focus here is to get them to a point of sustainable employment in the trades, but to also provide them with resources that assist with closing the gaps to barriers that would prevent them from being successful. We also continue to focus on education, internships, and scholarships. We had 2 scholarship recipients in the SIUE Environmental Resource Training Certification this past year. One was a minority, one was a woman. We also continue to provide the paid internship component through the St. Louis Internship Boys and Girls Club of Greater St. Louis. We had 2 interns this past summer from that program that came to work an 8-week paid internship here at the market location. And then in this final slide, I want to give you an update on the status of our implementation plans for the disparity study update. As you know, we released the results last March and brought this to the board for consideration at the beginning of our fiscal year. And from the time that we released the results and even through now, we have continued to meet with the various stakeholders, obtain their input, answer questions and clarifications, and take recommendations for implementing the disparity study results from our stakeholders. And the implementation plans we have so far includes implementation of the new goals across the programs at the beginning of our next fiscal year, July 1st, 2023. This also includes any updates to construction programming, design, and non-engineering professional services. And we're also exploring all options and gathering information for the shelter market program recommendation, as well as the mentor protege recommendation, and updating the diversity reporting system. And we plan on bringing you additional information as it becomes available and as it is inserted into our implementation plan. So for each of these items listed in the implementation schedule, there's a particular plan that's drawn out for each one of these items that we will be focused on developing and then implementing by the dates that we've given you. And that concludes my report.
Okay.
Any questions?
One, I'm assuming that the goals are under development at this. Is there a date for firm, I guess, the goals to be firm? I know you want them to be included in the program, our next fiscal year program.
Yeah.
Can you share the process? Is there anything you can share from the process of developing and firming up the goals?
In terms of the subcontracting goals, there our system is already set up to accept new goals. So in terms of systems changes, we're prepared to implement the new construction and workforce goals. But the plan is also to continue to take the recommendations and meet with our stakeholders in developing any other changes in our programs that would be affected by implementing the new goals. For instance, we would need to visit what good faith effort will look like moving forward for both utilization as well as workforce, and updating any of our programs to support industry standards for these changes that we're trying to implement.
I'm going to add a kudos with Shauna. She did this same process last time. The goal being, when we set the rules down, we're going to implement them to the letter. And it worked really well the last time Shauna went through this process, this communication process with the stakeholders. One of the things that she's really been successful at is we tell them, look, we're going to give you the ability to tell us what the level playing field looks like. But with that comes our ability, we're going to enforce to the letter. You saw some projects, even this last agenda, where we had to throw folks out because they didn't meet the exact provisions that the industry said would be acceptable for meeting the goals. So it's a really important part of it. Not only gets the buy-in, but it stops questions and things later on. We make it very clear what the rules are. So she's in the process of that. As you can imagine, these different stakeholders have different ideas. So she's got to work through that whole process.
She's got to collaborate with the stakeholders to come up with, so.
Yeah, so the goals get set. It's implementation, especially around if something falls short. And that's the piece she's really going to be working on.
Brian, I'd just like to say, Shauna, that 20 years ago, I did a lot of MSD work. And to see a lot of women on the job now is just gratifying.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Not, thank you again, Ms. Paredes.
Thank you.
We have a requirement to go into closed session. I'll take a motion to go into closed session. I think is appropriate now.
Right.
And we'll wait until you can clear the room.
We need a second. We need a second from somebody.
Second.
All right, and we'll do a roll call vote. So again, this is to go into closed session pursuant to by statute of Missouri, section 610.021, paragraph 12, to discuss sealed proposals and related documents or any documents related to a negotiated contract. Trustee Watson?
Yes.
Trustee Wabi?
Aye.
Trustee Nikozison? Trustee Nikozison, are you on mute? All right, we'll keep going. Trustee Wilson?
Well, yes.
Trustee Fair?
Yes.
Trustee Evans?
Yes.
All right, we are in closed session. Thank you. Okay.
Need a motion?
We need we're ready to come back out of
So
closed
moved.
session, like a motion.
Second.
Great, all in
No
favor?
objection, we are now in open session again.
Yes, sir.
With no further business, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Pleasure of my life, folks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
The next meeting is tentatively scheduled for November the 1st, 2022.
Thank you,
Have a great
everyone.
month.